the principal wanted me to just go around and observe kids that the teachers were thinking, looked kind of funny. So I went to one of the rooms, and I saw this kid who was doing some really unusual things that I'd never seen before. He would lean over and smell his book, and then he would go back like this with his hands, and he would kind of go like this in his hair. But it was kind of stereotypical, And then he would make this grimace at the teacher, and sometimes he'd go, "Ugh!" And the teacher was just convinced that he was being, defiant, that the teacher was taking this very personally. And then she would have all the kids, sit in a circle for the reading time. This was like kindergarten, right? And he would just get up and wander around the room and go through stuff on the shelves, on the walls, and, completely ignore her instructions. And this was very unexpected. So I go and watch the kid, and I meet with the teacher after school to talk about my recommendations, right? And I'm new, and I have no idea, There was nothing in my training, and I'd been a behavior therapist at a pediatric neuro rehab for a couple of years, but I'd never seen anything like that, and I didn't know what to tell the teacher. And of course, my usual thing, if I'm confused and I don't know the answer and I'm out of my league, I just sit there and don't say anything and look like everything's fine, right? Isn't that the definition of being a good psychologist? A required skill? You just don't look like you're freaking out about what they're saying? Oh, yes. Well, we'll have to see about that. So I'm like, oh man, what am I going to tell this teacher? Because I don't really have a clue. And so I'm like, well, so I watched you, and I thought you had a really good class. You did a really great job. You had all the other 21 students engaged. You've got a really good program. I like the way you're teaching. You're a great teacher. And then there's that one kid, and that kid is, they're really unusual, aren't they? And it doesn't really have anything to do with your teaching that they're acting that way. And I'm not sure, what to tell you to do. So I'm going to go do some research, okay? And it was 1994, so we were just getting started with the internet, but that really meant I was going to go look at books, right? I'm going to go look at some books and try to find this and try to find some ideas for you and then come back so I don't look stupid and unhelpful. I'm supposed to know more about this than you guys do, but I don't. So I would go back, 2 weeks later, I go back to meet with this teacher and all the other ones, because it was the same pattern with a whole bunch of teachers in this school. It was a big school, they had 1,000 kids, lots of teachers. And I kept finding that I would go back after 2 weeks, to have like something good for them. And they would say, I would sit down with them and I'd be very nervous because I didn't really have anything all that great and I still really kind of didn't know. And they would say, oh, thank you so much for what you told me. Things are going a lot better and I really appreciate your support. And I'd be like, I didn't tell them anything, what the heck? And so I realized, maybe it's like that consultation model, when you kind of agree with what they're doing, you support them. They didn't need any expertise from me, just going and meeting them, and letting them know it wasn't their fault that one of the different kids was acting differently, and that they were doing a good job. It was extremely helpful for them, and it helped them take the student less personally. If I could help them understand like Tourette's and Asperger's and say that the grimacing and barking is part of a tic disorder and it's involuntary and they're not doing it to you, they don't even know that they're doing it. When they learn that the behavior is like neurologically based and sometimes it's involuntary and they learn not to take it personally, it really helps the dynamic between the teacher and the student.